Good coffee. Welcome, everyone, on this September 11th, 2024. So glad that you could join me today. Now, just a reminder, we are on the road to 420. So if you're following on Rumble, we're at rumble.com/coffee/nuance/live. Just bookmark us. Be sure to follow us there. We're going for 420 subscribers. So let's see if we can make that happen. Anyway, today we got something big to talk about. We're talking about the debate, and we're talking about this idea that, what do I call it? That I've called cognitive tribalism. All right. What's up, Matthew McConaughey? Great to see everybody today. Love it. Anyway, your excitement could be as big, have as much energy as Kamala Harris's fans had after the debate, or should I say therapy session for Kamala, because let's be honest, folks, that wasn't a debate. That was a group hug with the moderators refereeing in her favor. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the big idea to think about. Kamala's fans didn't even notice. They thought the whole thing was fair and square. Yeah. Are they watching the same movie here? This is cognitive tribalism, folks. When you're so locked into your team, your side, that reality, it just doesn't even compute anymore. Cognitive tribalism. Let's talk about that. You know, you're not just in a tribe, you're married to it. You defend it at all costs, even when the facts are staring you in the face like, hey, remember me? I exist. Kamala could have been singing show tunes up there, and her fans would have said, wow, she really nailed it. So presidential. Meanwhile, Trump could have pulled out a fire extinguisher, put out actual flames, and they'd be like, I don't trust him. Looks suspicious. I mean, the moderators were practically feeding Kamala grapes like she was Cleopatra. No tough questions, no pushback. It was like the whole thing was sponsored by her fan club. Trump, on the other hand, couldn't get a word in without the moderators turning into fact checker bots, instantly jumping on him like he just claimed to invent the internet. Wink, wink. And the best part, Kamala's fans didn't see a single issue with it. Not one. It's like they're living in an alternate universe where she's Mother Teresa. And the moderators, well, they were just doing God's work. Just doing God's work. This is the magic of cognitive tribalism. When you're in a tribe, the other candidate can literally walk on water, and all you hear is, see, looks like he might drown. This isn't just bias, folks. This is tribalism. When you're so deep in the Kool-Aid, you don't even realize you built a summer home at the bottom of the glass. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, what does it take for Harris fans to see reality? The moderators were giving her a fair pass, like she was getting into Disneyland. No fact checks, no follow-ups, just a lot of nodding and tell us more about your vision, Kamala. How do you plan to single-handedly fix the universe with a smile? But Trump, every word out of his mouth was treated like a potential crime scene. The moderators were practically CSI up in there. Mr. Trump, your statement about the economy has been noted. We're going to run a full forensic analysis and report back. Meanwhile, Kamala's up there. I want unity. And the moderators respond like, oh, she's a poet. So brave. Yet here's the thing. Here's the thing. Harris fans are blind to it. It's cognitive tribalism. They're like, what bias? I don't see any bias. It's like the moderators handed Kamala a 12-lane highway and gave Trump a dirt road. And Harris fans are like, it looks fair to me. Let's be real. This goes deeper than just one debate. It's the bigger problem of cognitive tribalism. When you're part of a tribe, you don't just disagree with the other side. You can't see the other side. Your brain won't allow it. Kamala, she could have walked out to the debate with a sash that read Miss Congeniality 2024, and her fans would have said, see, she's just so inspiring. So how do we break out of this? Well, first, maybe we start by admitting that the refs were clearly playing favorites. If you love your team, even if you love your candidate, it doesn't hurt to say, yeah, the deck was kind of stacked. And if you can't admit that, you're not in a debate anymore. You're at a pep rally. Look, this is bigger than Kamala or Trump. Cognitive tribalism is killing our ability to have real debates, real discussions. We're so wrapped up in protecting our side that we don't even see the cracks in the armor. Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest. If you walked away from that debate thinking Kamala got the same treatment as Trump, you're not just drinking the Kool-Aid, you're doing a keg stand with it. Here's the thing. Cognitive tribalism is like a bad hangover. Feels good while you're riding high, but eventually reality smacks you in the face. And if you don't see that bias, folks, you're not at a debate, you're at a magic show. Because here's the thing. If you walked away from that debate thinking Kamala was treated just as tough as Trump, congratulations. You've officially achieved the political equivalent of thinking pro wrestling is totally real. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffey Nuance Show, least watched, censored commentary news show live right now. Flame on. Oh, thanks everybody for joining in the chat. We got a number of people here today. We're live on Rumble, YouTube, and on X. So be sure to follow us somewhere. Hit the like button. It helps, perhaps. I don't know. It's what they say. Anyway, just this is a big idea, and that's the big idea I wanted to talk about. Now, you may think to yourself, Tom, I've never heard this term cognitive tribalism before. That's because I just coined it, okay? What I did is I combined tribalism with cognitive dissonance, which is what I saw from the reactions to the debate that took place last night. And I've been seeing this more and more in my own life. People that are otherwise seem to be bright people. They're just so blind to reality because they're so deep in their tribe. They're so deep in their tribe. Now, I'm probably in the thick of it. I live here in Portland, Oregon, so I think we're probably a little bit deeper into tribal things than a lot of the country. But it's, I'm guessing it's probably pretty bad where you are too. But anyway, this idea of cognitive tribalism, this is when individual people, okay, their thinking and their perception have become so heavily influenced by their allegiance to a particular social, political, ideological group, whatever, party, right? They filter information in ways that align with their group's beliefs, regardless of the evidence, okay? And the result of this is a totally distorted view of reality. The bias is in favor of the tribe, goes totally unnoticed. And that's what I was seeing when people were reacting to this, not being able to acknowledge that it was a totally biased debate. If you can't even acknowledge that, you can't even acknowledge reality. And the thing is, it's okay. Just when we think about sports, right? And it's a close game near the end. Let's say the refs totally blew the call. Okay, they totally blew it in favor of your team. You can say, hey, we won the game and we got a little help from the refs there, but we'll take it because that's what it is. You're allowed to say that, okay? You should be allowed to say that in politics as well, but I'm not seeing it whatsoever. In fact, I don't even think the people that are just so deep in the Democrat Kool-Aid, I don't even think they realize what's happening. That's the thing. They're not actively ignoring it. I don't even think they're seeing it. So anyway, how can you identify this idea of cognitive tribalism? Okay. So people affected by this, they tend, right, to consume media or information that only supports their group's views, and they totally avoid the opposing viewpoints. Now, one of the things is when we're comparing, because obviously the right wing is tribal as well. The difference is you can't escape the left wing's media narrative because, well, it's in all the media, right? So people on the right, they're aware of what the left wing is saying because, I mean, it's freaking everywhere, right? It's dominated by the media. However, the reverse isn't true. And so that's why we're seeing this cognitive tribalism so much worse on the left than on the right, because you're so deep in your echo chamber, you don't even hear a dissenting opinion. And if you do, it's so scarce you can ignore it, right? Another thing that I see is this group loyalty over the truth. The truth doesn't matter anymore. Or it's like we're in a post-truth world. And I know you're going to be like, oh, well, Trump doesn't tell the truth. Republicans don't tell. Okay, I get that. But the reality that debate was so biased, if you can't see that, it's got to be weird. It's got to be like being in a cult. It's got to be like being so deep in a religion that you can't even see how you're being manipulated at all. So if you see someone with their loyalty to the group is greater than their loyalty to the truth, well, that's kind of a tell right there. Something else you'll notice is you have to vilify your opponents, okay? Your opponents aren't just wrong, they're bad, they're evil, right? So tribal thinking fosters this us versus them. It's tearing the world apart. So opposing views aren't wrong, they're morally inferior and dangerous. We see this so much. And those outside of the tribe, they're often just like dehumanized, caricatured. Am I saying that right? Caricatured. And the way that people in the tribe just dismiss any inconvenient fact. If you're faced with a fact that might contradict the narrative, right? You just reject it, ignore it, explain it away. You can also call it a conspiracy theory, right? That's a good way to just totally ignore it outright. Something else you'll notice are emotional reactions to being challenged. So you will often see this. You ask a challenging question. It's the emotional reaction to it. If you're reacting emotionally to something, you're not actually looking at it as though it is with any kind of logic, right? These are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. That's not rationality. You're not looking at things rationally. You're being emotional. And if you're being emotional, that's probably most of the time the way to make the wrong decision. But one of the things with these tribes is it's our social circles, and it's reinforced in our social circles. So if you're in a social circle, whether it's online or offline, you're just going to keep getting the same message repeated in social media feeds from your friends. That's your community. That's what you're saying. And if you all share the same view, it makes it really hard to break away from that group think. Okay, but how can you do it if you want to? If you want to, how can you do it? I know this is tough. You got to be able to try to seek a diverse perspective. You know, we all keep hearing diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. Well, if that's true, if you're one of the people that keeps claiming that diversity is our strength, how about some diversity of your media? How about some diversity of where you get your news from? Okay? Because you're smart enough, right? You're a smart person. You can listen to an opposing view and not have it change you. If you are, then that's my challenge to you, is to actually don't just talk about diversity, actually do it by reading diverse viewpoints. Obviously, anytime you go somewhere and you hear somebody saying, "Oh, you got to think critically," that doesn't work, right? I can't just tell you to think critically. I mean, that's what you should do. Okay. But there's no way to tell someone. It's like telling someone, you have to think. Like, oh, well, that's a good idea. I didn't realize that. I have to think. So, I mean, it's the truth, but it's hard to suggest that. One thing that you could ask is this opinion based on a fact, or is it based on my loyalty to the group? That's something you can ask. Or how about, am I dismissing this argument because it's from the other side? That's something you can ask yourself. When you hear something that just is, oh, I don't know about that, just ask yourself, am I dismissing this because it's from the other side? That is one way to start recognizing tribalism that you might be in. And the other thing is to engage in constructive dialogue. So this is, you got to have some people and allow them to actually share their point of view. And if you're the type of person that does not allow anyone to have an opposing point of view, well, then you're never you're never going to get out of it. Okay. Often, beware of emotional triggers. Now, this was actually used quite well in the debate last night, which I'm going to talk more about in just a minute. Kamala had to bring up the crowd size, right? That seems to be an emotional trigger for Donald Trump. You question his crowd size, he reacts to that. You got to be aware. What is your emotional trigger? What's the thing that the people that they can set you off when they say certain things? One of the ones for me is if people say, now I know what you're thinking about this. I'm like, no. You don't know what I'm thinking. And it really ticks me off when people tell me what I'm thinking. Okay, so that's my own emotional trigger that I have. But you should be aware. What are your emotional triggers? Let me know in the comments if you want. Another thing is to question the group identity. So just reflect on the group that you're in and just be aware of it. Because often we don't even think how much we're in a group. Ask yourself, am I defending this belief because it's actually true? Or is it just because it's part of this group I'm in? Okay. And I mean, this is going to sound real obvious, kind of like, hey, just remember to think, right? But you should prioritize evidence over identity. Evidence is more important than identity. So try to prioritize truth and evidence over tribal loyalty. When you're evaluating a claim, focus on facts and logic rather than what your group thinks, right? And something else you may consider is recognizing, that you can be humble. You can be intellectually humble. No group or individual has a monopoly on the truth, right? You got to accept that. There's nobody that's got a monopoly on the truth. I don't, certainly. You don't. The people on TV don't. Your favorite candidate doesn't. The people in your tribe, they don't. They can be wrong about a lot of things. This humility is going to allow you to grow and have a more nuanced understanding of complex things. I know, crazy, right? And so maybe get out of your echo chamber. Lastly, it's okay to be in an echo chamber, but be aware that you're in an echo chamber and sometimes take a trip to get out of it. It's like people that never take a vacation and they never go anywhere else. Get out of your town, get out of your country, go somewhere else, see some different points of view. I don't know a single person. Now, there's probably an outlier, but I don't know a single person that ever made like some grand trip across, around the world and came back and said, yeah, you know what? I went on this big trip. I went to India. I went to, Eastern Europe. I did all this stuff. And you know what? I just wish I would have stayed at home or maybe just gone camping. I shouldn't have gone on that trip and around the world. That was That was a big. I've never heard that. No one's ever said that. In fact, one of the greatest things that I ever did that changed my perspective so much was going on that first trip overseas. And I'm like, I'm into this. I'm into this. I got to keep doing this. More of this. More of seeing different places. More of seeing different viewpoints. And when you meet people in their 50s and they've never left, they were born here. They've never gone anywhere else. They've never been to Mexico. They've never been to Canada. I mean, Canada in 3 hours. Never been to Canada. It's like, man, you're missing out. In the same way, people are missing out on viewpoints because they're so stuck in their tribe. Anyway, that's the main idea I wanted to talk about today. Let's talk about this. Let us talk about the debate last night. Did you watch it? I was thinking of live streaming, and I've been working on my studio. I guess I got the audio fixed. Embarrassing that what I did. I unplugged something and didn't realize it when I was cleaning up. But the debate, I thought, was crazy how biased it was. All of the fact checking on Donald Trump, interrupting Trump every time he talked, there would be even instances where they would just say, well, audience, just so you know, that is not true. Now on to the next question. And it was all directed at Trump, and none of it was directed at Kamala. Not a single fact check against Kamala. This is so unbalanced. It was crazy. It was crazy. Now, obviously, we knew that was probably going to happen. This was run by ABC News. They were clearly biased. Clearly. And the thing that really got me thinking is just how people can't even see that. It's so obvious. I think it's probably obvious to you if you watched it. But there's a lot of people that they're so steeped in this cognitive tribalism that they didn't even see it. So I think that Kamala, here's the thing. It was just really an unfair fight. Kamala said so many things that were just straight up, have already been debunked. She did the Fine People hoax, right? The bloodbath hoax, like all these hoaxes that have been fact checked in the media, and none of it was corrected. None of it was corrected. Now Trump had some. He wasn't right on everything that he said, but either fact check both sides, or don't fact check and let the candidates fact check it. It appeared to me like it was a 3-on-1 fight, and that's just not right. A sense of fairness in this country. Frankly, it's a bit sexist and it's a bit racist, don't you think? That they have to step in to help the woman of color, that they can't have an equal opportunity, that they have to step in and help her. It's a bit insulting, isn't it? It's as if Kamala would not be able to do the debate unless she had help from the moderator. That's what it looks like to me. It seems very condescending. But overall, I don't think that this will change a single person's mind. I think that anybody that watches the debate probably already had their mind made up. And the people that haven't made up their mind yet, they're not watching the debate, right? If you haven't made up your mind by now, you're not really interested in politics. And if you're not interested in politics, you're not sitting down and watching a debate. You're not. So, I'm not sure what the point of this was. I hear that the Harris campaign wants to have more debates. Probably, right? Probably because they need the help and they know that they're losing. And they're losing badly. You'd know that on, remember ABC used to, Nate Silver used to be on ABC. And ABC would always have Nate Silver on and would talk about Nate Silver's work. Nate Silver is predicting a Trump victory, so Nate Silver will not be seen on the corporate news anymore because he has the wrong message, right? He has the wrong facts, I guess. So you will not be seeing him on any of the political programs anymore whatsoever. Overall, I did like some of Trump's performance. I feel like I could have done better than both of them. And I think that many people watching this show also could have done better than either Trump or Harris. Because I don't think that either had a very strong performance. I mean, it's much easier if you got the referees on your side, you know. But I do think that Trump could have done a much better job than he did. I would have liked to have seen him bring up the fact that Bobby Kennedy and many other people that used to be Democrats are supporting him. The only message that we got about that was about Dick Cheney and endorsing Kamala. And I think what would have been kind of a good thing for Trump to have brought up, it says, yeah, all the neocon warmongers, the bloodthirsty warmongers, support Kamala. Because that's true. Let the people know that. Yeah, all the bloodthirsty warmongers are supporting Harris. So I think that would have been an important point that he didn't seem to bring up. I don't know. Overall, not real exciting. But in hindsight, I think I want to go back and watch it and just do a play-by-play. I need to figure out how I can do a telestrator so I can do a play-by-play and show what was going on in the debate. And the thing is, I think on a rewatch, you will see how much more biased they were than you might have thought originally. Anyway, that's what I think about this idea of cognitive tribalism. That's the big idea to talk about today. But anyway, that's all I have for you. I will be going through all of your comments in the after show, and that starts right after this. Okay. Oh my goodness. Look, you can see all the stuff on my desk, including little supplements and what am I doing? Got my computer, laptop here. I was working on my studio, setting up some new stuff, but got a slightly new angle here. Let me see if I can get. Here we go. Here's the chat. Here's the chat. What's up, Rev? Apothecary John, nice to see you. What's up, chat? Yeah, listen while you work. Hashtag Rumble Gang. I did. You know what was funny with the hashtag Rumble Gang? That was the video I did on Monday, and it was a total fail because I couldn't get the audio working. I couldn't figure it out. But hashtag Road to 420. That's right. Let's get to 420 on Rumble. That's the plan. Rev says, I don't know about 420, but I'm in for the path to 69. Bump. There we go. Tom is always coining new phrases. That's one of the things I like. I like the idea of coming up with ways of explaining things that haven't been explained. I was just thinking about this, the reaction that people had to this debate. And I'm like, do they even believe this? Do they believe? And I'm like, I think they do. I don't think that they can see how biased this was. And why is this? Well, it's a combination of tribalism and it's a combination of cognitive dissonance. It's a combination of all these things. And I was like, well, there should be a term for that. So yeah, I made a term that will never go anywhere. Perhaps I'll I'll have it in a book someday, you know. Joe says, I think Kamala exceeded right-wing expectations. I don't think the same can be said about Trump and those on the left. Yeah, I do think that Kamala did exceed expectations. She had a lot of help. I don't know that she would have done as well as she did if she had some honest moderators and some moderators that even pushed back just a little bit, you know. But you know, let me see if I can fix this here real quick. Let's see. No, it's a little cut off. So I got to figure out how to fix that. Anyway, yeah, where's Natasha? I don't know. Probably doing something fun. Let's hope. Diversity of ideas is greater than diversity of physical attributes or demographics. I agree. That's what diversity is really about. Ideas. Because who cares if, you know, if you have an authoritarian dictatorship and all of the people in charge have a broad spectrum of skin color and genders and whatnot, who cares? You're still in this authoritarian dictatorship, right? The real diversity is diversity of ideas. Ox says you come up with better innovation and solution, not just looking different, but by thinking different, have different experience. I agree. Erie says, I only saw bits and pieces of the debate, but seemed like Trump was debating 3 people instead of 1. That's kind of what it was. Yeah. Joe says, I think every non-critical and independent that watched was swayed by that, but there's an equal number of independents that saw that and were turned off by it. I agree. I laughed at Trump fact-checking moderators. Yeah, that was it. Rev68 says, unforced air by Trump was bringing up the pet eating, even if it's partially true. Well, that's the thing. I do believe, but here's the thing, right? It can be totally true. If the media doesn't cover it, the Dems, and I mean the Democrats that are supporting Harris, are never going to see it, right? When you have your blinders on, you can't even see the truth if it's outside of the view that's being presented to you. That's the thing. What's up, Tobias? Haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you. Biggest missed opportunity for him is he should have hammered home that if Kamala can't convince Joe Biden to adopt one of her policies, she wouldn't be able to convince a Republican-controlled House. Boom. That is perfectly stated, Rev. And yeah, so good. I should have asked you before my show because I would have brought that point up. But that's why we have the after show. Tobias says the moderators needed their own moderators. I agree. Matthew Adams, double T's and double D's in Matthew and Adams. I'm voting for Trump because of the way this debate was handled. Well, we all got to decide for our own reason who we're voting for and why we're voting for him. But, you know, I encourage everyone to do what they want to do. I'm in Oregon. I really don't think my vote matters, but, you know, really essy that these are the 2 options, but here we are. Yeah, believe me. How much can you imagine if Bobby Kennedy would have been at this as well, right? That would have been really exciting. And I think he probably would have done really well in a debate. But you know, the 2 major parties wouldn't have anything to do with him, didn't want to promote him at all, and now he's made his choice. He's supporting Trump, and he's going to work with Trump to make America healthy again, right? That's a slogan. Trump did bring up all of those people were fired. He would have slam dunked it if he mentioned that while he fires people for being incompetent, Kamala's staffers quit for her incompetence. Yeah, a lot of this was like you're leaving money on the table. You know that expression. Um, there are so many things that I think Trump could have had some slam dunks on that he missed. But it is important to think the Biden administration hasn't fired anybody, right? That's the way you don't have anybody, write bad things about you and go on to, be a former staffer that says bad stuff. The way you do that is you never fire anybody, right? So that's one way to go about things. Supplements, yeah, that's what these are. Supplements I had out, yeah. Everyone needs to comment about Tom's channel in other comment sections. Well, good luck with that, Matthew. I think the people on a certain platform are kind of acting like the moderators did from last night. But I appreciate all the help and support. I really do. Diversity of ideas is great on paper. When working on a project, however, it can lead to non-action and hinder performance. Well, it all just depends on how those are going. But if you and we can exaggerate things to make a point, right? But if you have a business and you say, "Oh, well, I think it should be done this way," and I don't want any feedback from anyone, right? You could go on to do something really stupid. And it could have been fixed if you just would have asked for a couple opinions on things. I do agree, though, if you make it such that, you've seen those like city council meetings where they invite the public and everybody gets to talk for a couple minutes, and there's like you're hearing from all these crazy people and whatnot that have an agenda and they're just getting up there to say something. Kind of like what you'll see Alex Stein show up at those types of meetings. There are a lot of opinions that you don't need to hear. I understand that. But if you don't hear any of them, right, that's where you can get into real trouble. So there's a balance on that. Tobias, nice to see you too. It's been a busy summer. I'm glad you had a busy summer. That's a good thing, right? We need to celebrate having things to do and all that. Anyway, I've been putting together this studio. I've been working on some new stuff. Eventually you'll see it. But I will be back on Friday. So I will see you then live at noon on the West Coast, 3 on the East. And I got some new ideas about some stuff. But anyway, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about today, is this idea of cognitive tribalism. I think it's an interesting idea, and it might be something, it's an idea that you can talk about with other people. See what they think about that idea. I love talking about ideas. I really do. I mean, clearly. So that's what I got for you today. Anyway, hope you all have a glorious Wednesday, and I'll see you back on Friday. Until then, peace.